good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter where you seem to think you are. Let us all come together into this moment now, remembering that the only time that is now, is this present moment. So let us center in, let go of all thoughts of the past, all future planning or predictions. Just let it all go and be here now. So, we are here and you are as well. This is the time of awakening, which you are aware of, and that's what you are joining here for, to remember who you are, really. During this time of awakening, it is the time of becoming more mindful rather than remaining mindless. You are the mind that thinks, perceives, and dreams. You are not a body. Perhaps once you thought you were the body, and that is pretty much true for everyone. But you are not a body. You are the mind that made the body, you see. You are the mind that thinks the body. The body is nothing in truth. You are spirit forever, meaning you are eternal. The body is ephemeral. It is not long-lasting. It is here an instant and gone the next. It is not you. You last forever. And you are love in truth. So we want you to awaken to this truth, become one with this realization, and realize that you do have a mighty responsibility in awakening. And what that means is to become more aware, more conscious of the way that you perceive, or rather the choices that you make in your day-to-day life and how you show up in life, meaning how you react or respond. You see, remember, we've told you this, and it's always a good thing to remind you, you have two parts to your mind. One part is the part of you that remains aware entirely of itself as one with God. That's where the Holy Spirit abides. The other part is the one you made to replace that part of your mind that remembers always that it is one with God. Is that a call for death? No. That's a call for release, meaning a call for forgiveness. You want to look at that and let it go and choose to go into the direction of life eternal, which means lighten up. So we'll get more into that throughout this session. We are ready for the questions.
This question is from George. And George asks, a long time ago I asked you, why can't I just come home? Your answer was, because you don't really want it. So now my question is, how can I really want it? I want it, but something is holding me back, especially when it comes to the body. I want to let it all go, but it's hard because this world is all I know. How can I really let go?
So those are some very good points, and we're going to tell you you're not alone in that feeling of wanting to come home, but getting that same exact answer, you don't really want to. Because it's true, for the most part, you don't really want to come home. If you really wanted to come home, you would have said, I get it, this is a dream. I'm going to let it go. I made up a personality. I made up a self that exists only in time, meaning it is ephemeral, you see. Whereas there is the eternal self, the capital self, who is forever and always, you see. But that one you're afraid of because you're so identified with what you made. Does this make sense?
Yes.
So what to do about that is forgive it and lighten up about it. Everybody's done the same thing, you see. There's something that happens in awakening sometimes where the awakener, we'll just say, the one moving toward awakening, becomes very, very serious about this endeavor and sees it as an endeavor rather than the next natural step, you see. And it's good to take it seriously, as in you value your desire to awaken. You don't want to remain asleep. You want to wake up. You want to return to your right mind. You want to return to truth. But there's a part of you, and that's the part of you we were talking about in the split mind, who gets on board with you, so to speak. We'll say so to speak because it wants to get on board with you only to perpetuate itself by making you feel very serious about awakening. And the funny thing is, once you awaken, that part of your mind is gone, you see. And so that's the fear. That's the fear that holds you here, you see. And that's the taking serious. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the way to move forward is really to let it go. Say, I do want this 100%. I'm doing my very best. And that's about all I can do, is my best in the way that I understand how. So you have an honest heart. Your heart is, I forgive, I love, I want peace, I choose peace. When I'm in situations of conflict, I choose to listen to my right mind. And rather than react with aggression, I choose to step back and listen to the teacher of peace who gives me the words to say or the actions to take. And sometimes those actions are nothing at all, and sometimes those words are silent, you see. In fact, a lot of the time it is silent. And what we mean by silent, it means not argumentative, not going to disagree, not going to push against, but just to accept and say, it is what it is, you see. And you move forward in that way. That's choosing to be a demonstration of a peaceful heart, a peaceful self, who you really are. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So of course, becoming frustrated with yourself or the path is part of the ego's thought system, which is part of the mind that wants you to take it very seriously. And by taking it that seriously, you put up a block to the awareness that you're already on it and moving toward it, you see. So you have to be patient. The end is certain, and that's you waking up at home, you see. So, are there any other questions around this?
Seems like my conscious mind gets all of this, but my subconscious mind does not. And I'm just thinking maybe it's a matter of time and practice and patience.
That would be very correct.
Okay.
You're
Sounds
very
like
right.
that's what. All right. Thank you then.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
See, the subconscious mind takes in everything and holds on to it. And what you want to do is feed it truth, feed it love, and let it go. Patience, like you were saying, and gentleness, of course, forgiveness. So, thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is from Jenny. Jenny asks, 3 years ago I qualified as a healing practitioner and started opening up a space for people to heal themselves. I'm very aware that when a client is upset or emotional, I too become emotional. Not always, but it can happen from time to time. I understand this shows me that I have emotions that require releasing. I try not to judge myself for that, but do you have any advice as to how I can keep my energy high without matching that emotion? When clients see that I am tearful, they tend to suppress, thinking that they are upsetting me. Thanks so much.
So yes, indeed. First of all, the emotions are not you. If you have feelings with clients coming in and you are sensitive to that and you pick up on it, it could just be simply an awareness that this is where the client seems to be. But rather than judging that emotion at all, you let it go, because emotions are always actually part of your ego mind, you see. You don't ever want to identify with the emotions because they are never true. Emotions are never true, you see. You want to clear the mind and be prepared so that you are aware that this happens from time to time, like you said, but you don't take it seriously. You don't make it into something, you see. You don't identify with the emotions, because in identifying with the emotions, you make those emotions real to you, rather than releasing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, I suppose, yeah.
So you were saying you opened a space for clients to heal. Well, the way to heal is to release. And like you were saying, you could feel that sometimes those things are indicators of emotions that you have that you need to release. But rather than getting into the emotion, you have to look at it and say, this is not true. This cannot be of who I really am, therefore I can simply let it go. I don't have to go through it, so to speak. I'm going to observe it, and I'm going to say, I know that this comes from my wrong-minded thought system, therefore I'm not going to hold on to it, but I am going to let it go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I suppose before I've even thought about letting it go, it's already come up. And then I just think, oh, because I think about, when Jesus was incarnated and he was helping people to heal, he wasn't like hanging off their shoulder crying or anything,
Right.
he was able to just be completely fine because he didn't identify with any of it. So yeah, it does make sense, I suppose. Yeah, perhaps, I'm trying not to judge it, but I'm also aware.
That's it right there, is the judgment.
Yeah. But I'm also aware that the person that I'm trying to help
Right.
thinks that they're upsetting me.
Yes.
And I don't want them to think that.
So rather than letting the emotion run the show, you say, I recognize this as a false feeling because it comes from a lower system of thought, so I'm just going to let it go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, yes. Yeah.
So you can lighten up and just be easy about it all, and everybody will smile.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Lighten up.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. Wonderful.
The next question is from Neil. And Neil asks, please help us with our sense of guilt and regret over the passing of our son, John, last Christmas. We were always a loving family, and we tried again and again to find him doctors who could help him. But in the end, we failed, and his problems overcame him. We tried to listen to our right mind, and I believe you when you said that Johnny is safe and free with you in heaven. But we are still haunted by how we, as parents, let him down and failed to save our beautiful son while he was on earth. Why didn't we recognize his deep need in his last days? Why didn't we hug him more? How we wish now that we had. Thank you.
So first of all, we want you to breathe in and just be in the present moment. In the present moment, there is nothing wrong. In the present moment, there is only love. The thought about what I could have done back then, or why didn't I do that, I could have saved him, might not be true, you see. Everyone has a path, and no one can determine another's path. And you may not know what it is. As far as wishing that you had hugged him more, given him more love, do it now. Remember how we said in the beginning, the only time that is now. There is no time in truth. That love is now. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, Jesus. Is Johnny in heaven with you now?
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome, and he's simultaneously with you still. So,
That,
give him all the love.
but we cry. We still cry every day, and it's still hard.
It is difficult when you lose a loved one, especially, well, not especially, we're not going to make anything greater than anything else, but it is difficult when you lose a child. So don't beat yourself up for still having emotion with that. It's not an easy thing. It never is. Death is not easy, although it is not real, you see. There's a belief in death, and that's what makes it so difficult. And it's a misunderstanding of death as well, because you, who you really are, does not and cannot die. So the spirit doesn't die.
Yes, and I can hear Johnny sometimes saying to me, like, Dad, you have to think on a higher level, not on an earthly level. Think about what Jesus says. Think of what the Course says.
And he's exactly right. And just treasure that. You can hear him. He's talking to you and he's telling you truth, you see. He wants you to raise up because that's where healing is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Jesus, can I ask, in Aaron Michelle's book, Essays of the Light, there was a very striking statement that really kind of blew me away. It said, what is coming is much greater than anything that anyone has ever imagined. Can you elaborate on that, please? Because that's remarkable.
It is something that is beyond words. It really is. Does that make sense? It's you and your magnificence, your eternal nature, you see. It is all of all that is, which is only love and only light and only eternal.
And do angels and your presence in heaven, do they know about our good efforts to try
Oh my
and reach the
goodness,
light?
yes. Absolutely. You have no idea how many are watching over you at all times. This goes for everyone. You have no idea how many are aware of you as you truly are, including who you really are, watches over you. You see, you are not separate from you. And who you really are is magnificence itself, is love, is clarity, is light, you see.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Just one other question, if I may. Like, I know there was a course when I was reading in the course. There was a statement that said, I believe it starts with, "What could you not accept?" And then it continues with, like, if you but knew that your life is planned, something to that effect. I wish I could understand that better.
It's basically if you knew the magnitude of who you are, you wouldn't believe a damn thing here. You would only know the truth of you. You would only know the love of you, and you would completely accept the atonement, no questions asked. Does that make sense?
Yes, but it's a little over my head.
Yes, it is. That's why you work little by little, step by step. And in the Course, it is literally, and in lots of spiritualities and teachings, it is literally step by step, you see.
Well, thank you, Jesus. We'll just keep living step by step then. And God
Exactly.
bless everyone, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much too, and God bless you. And also, step by step, this goes for everyone. Don't think you can rush forward. Take it step by step. Be gentle with yourself and love thyself.
Thank you, Jesus. I love you.
Thank you. We love you too.
Next question is from Daria. And Daria asks, where am I still blocked on my spiritual path and how to solve it? What can I do to evolve and help others to evolve? What exact steps should I follow?
Well, it's the exact steps that we just said to kneel. And that really is to lighten up about yourself, to take it step by step and be patient with yourself as well. So also, that is the block, is taking it too seriously, is making a big deal out of it when you can just go with the flow with awakening, you see. A lot of people like to think that it's going to be this big, immense, crazy thing happening, but really it is a gentle step-by-step healing of mind, you see. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And the way to help everyone else is to be a demonstration of one who's chosen the path of peace, chosen the path of unity, of oneness, of awakening. So.
Yeah, can I ask you if there is something that I truly need to now focus on? If there is something like blockage or trauma or maybe something from past life that I should be really focused on?
Not
Progress?
at all. You don't have anything like that. If you did, it would be something that you just want to say, if there is anything in my field of being or in my mind, in my dream, that I need to release, I want to release it now. You don't have to look at any of that, but you just allow it to come up, as in if you have feelings that come up, just let them go rather than analyze them. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. I think I'm grabbing a lot of actually feelings, and I'm very emotional. There is lots of emotions, and it's making kind of the mess for me. I think this is a big problem.
And so that's where you need to change your mind, you see. Know this. I can be only upset by my own mind's decision to be upset. It's not actually the thing I think it is, but it's my mind's decision to invite the feeling of upset. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Can I ask you just, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you. Can I ask you just one question? Because since 7 months, I'm channeling the archangels, and it's just the beginning. I know it, and I would love to that it would progress. Can I ask you about any advices, any indications?
Well, we don't teach channeling, we'll just say that, but what we can tell you is the more that you lighten up and you take the steps we just gave you, it will make it easier for you to receive and to channel.
I see. So just actually working on myself, on my ego mind, on my emotions, releasing, and that will make it grow.
Releasing it.
Releasing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
We appreciate you, and remember, you are not your ego. The ego is something you made up, but is something you can let go of, you see. You are a self that is indescribable and out of this world, meaning out of time and space. And that is powerful. And that's the one to look to. That one is of peace, of love, of kindness, and of gentleness and forgiveness. Think in that way as you move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is from Kurt. Kurt asks, please discuss the atonement. Specifically, 1. Will it occur incrementally over time? If so, in Earth time, when will it be complete? 2.
We'll stop with that first.
Okay.
One question at a time about that. Yes, it will happen because that's inevitable. Will it happen in Earth time? Time does not exist. It's something that happens outside of time, is not ruled by time, and is therefore infinite and unlimited, you see. So it cannot be tied down to any way except for the way that you continue to push it away. Does that make sense?
You mean it's there anytime we want it?
Exactly. It's right there. It was given to you the moment you chose the wrong thought. The moment that you thought you had separated, it was immediately given, you see. But you forgot, and you believed the thought that separation was real, and therefore you went on a seeming journey that seems to be ongoing, though there is no time, in truth. Forgiveness.
I say,
Go ahead.
oh, nothing, go ahead.
We were just going to say forgiveness simply is. So you were saying more?
Okay, the next question, the second part is, will God at some point intervene to complete the atonement process?
Something that we have said before, and if you've been reading A Course in Miracles, you'll remember this. God takes the final step. All you have to do is make open the way for God, which means you choose to accept the atonement for yourself, you choose to accept forgiveness, and you choose to listen to the mind of forgiveness rather than the mind of blame and hatred. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yes, indeed. It's not that God intervenes, it's that God takes the final step. God is always with you. You never left God in truth.
What about people who have not yet accepted the atonement?
They're okay. The only one that matters is your mind, you see. All minds are one in truth and are joined. So when you accept the atonement, you are actually accepting it for all. Does that make sense?
Yeshua accepted the atonement when he was here on earth. Did that operate to accept it for everyone?
Yes, but you have to realize we're waiting for you to accept it. And that's the part you need to take, you see, is to accept the atonement that was already accepted as one.
I'm thinking about.
It's one of those things you can't really wrap your mind around, because here's the thing. There is a belief in separate bodies, and the way that this is often looked at is from the level of mind, not the level of mind, the level of body, which makes things very difficult to fathom. It is on the level of mind. Mind is all-encompassing. Bodies cannot be, you see. The body is not real. It's just something that you made up. We're not saying specifically you, this goes for everyone. And it was a symbol of separation, because bodies cannot truly join, but minds are joined eternally. And once you remember that you are a mind and not a body, it makes it easier for you to just simply allow to come to your mind and understand, or accept at least.
What is the value of time?
You made it, so it's something that will help you, because you made it. You can use it in such a way that you can choose to let it go. Time is something that is entirely made up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And is a belief to be let go. Time can be used appropriately, meaning you can use time to choose to be a demonstration of forgiveness, to extend love to all, and to extend peace to all, while you still believe in time. Once the belief in time is done, the world is done completely for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There are more parts to
Yes.
Kurt's question. The third part was, will the atonement cause the entirety of the illusion of a physical world and universe cease to exist? And will all memory of the illusion be erased?
So, yes, it will cease to exist for you once you have accepted it completely, the atonement completely. It will completely disappear. Not in a frightening way, but in a feeling of release, a letting go completely. The only memories you will retain are that of the times when you shared love and you gave light, you see. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Now, of course, we're not going to get into life reviews, but we are going to say that part of life reviews, if you choose to have a life review, there can be things brought up by your higher mind of things that you have chosen that you would like to see and learn to see differently. And that's where a memory can be of some kind of use, but truly what is truly retained is only the lesson of love. That you are forgiven always.
So the value of time for a human being is to allow us to proceed incrementally towards the atonement without a lot of fright.
Exactly. Because if you were thrust into the atonement completely with all of your beliefs intact, you would be absolutely terrified. And you would be completely traumatized, and that's something that time helps you to avoid. So it's important to see this definitely as the incremental step-by-step process that we have given you in order to gently move into truth, move into eternity, and move into home once again, which you have not left.
I've had several opportunities to experience what the Course calls a holy instant.
Beautiful.
It was beyond words. Why can't I have more of those more often?
You can, as you continue to choose to let them in. See, if you are judging in any way, or if you have put your own interpretation over your life, those moments are more difficult for you to experience, not because they're not there, but because you have put a barrier up against them. But you can always choose to let those barriers down and allow in the holy instant.
At the time I experienced them, I wasn't trying to have one.
It's not and we were just going to say, that's not what we want you to do. Is don't try to have a holy instant. Don't try to have a holy anything except for to turn to the wholeness that is you and feel that wholeness as much as you can. Does this make sense?
Okay.
And that's really where you are in the holy instant, is when you do turn to the wholeness of you, the capital self, the eternal nature of you, rather than the fleeting and the ephemeral, the little self.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now the next question is from Judith. And Judith asks, I hear your message that the body isn't real, and it is fairly easy for me to apply this to myself. However, I work in a job that involves the body and illness. Can you give me guidance on navigating this part of the dream that seems so real?
Well, you lighten up about it. And remember that this is just part of your classroom, part of your dream. And to learn that you can love even though you think that these things are real still. Does that make sense?
It does. And often I will ask to help to see God sees in a patient that is kind of hard to see a Holy Spirit. And sometimes I get a different picture, and sometimes I fail at that.
It's okay. All you have to do is remember that you think that you are talking to another body, but you're not. The body is simply a disguise and not real. And don't take the body seriously. We know we've said this a lot, and we do say it a lot. Don't take it seriously. In that way, you're able to lighten up about it. You will be able to perceive much easier the spirit that is there. Does that make sense?
I want so much to see the spirit that's there instead of that body that we see. So,
well, rather than trying to not see the body, because you're going to still see bodies. Even someone who has achieved enlightenment will still see bodies for a time, because that is actually of help in a way, so that that one can help those who have yet to wake up, you see. And so rather than trying to see the spirit, as in, I don't want to see the body, say, you are a spirit, I am spirit, I think I'm in a body, you think you're in a body, in that we are the same, and so we can come together in that. Not that you would say this to somebody, but you can think that way in your mind. We are not our bodies, we are minds, we are spirit. Does that make sense?
yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So don't try to not see the body, because by trying not to see the body is making the body more real.
Okay.
It'll make it more difficult for you to not see the body. Because anything you push against, you actually make stronger.
Understood. Yes, thank you for the clarity.
You're welcome. And thank you.
The next question is from Laura. And Laura asks, Dear Jesus, I read so much in the Course about how to see my brother, how to give what I receive to him, to be a friend, to hear God's voice in him. Could you speak more about the ways to do this? How to extend love? Is it to remain in the mind of peace when I see anyone in form or when thinking of someone? What is sharing the dream with him? I wonder how it was when you were on earth in bodily form. Were you seeing bodies or only the one mind, or both somehow?
Like we were saying before, you're going to continue to see bodies because it's helpful to you to be able to still reach other minds, you see. Now, as far as seeing your brother the way he really is, it is to come from a mind of peace, not of judgment. When you use a mind of judgment, that's immediately casting out your brother or sister or anything. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And so the way to go forward is to try your best, well, not try, but do your best to maintain a level of peace in mind and be kind and remember that separation is but an illusion, that minds are joined, and that the only thing you want to extend is love and truth or forgiveness.
So for me, it feels like the work that I'm doing is only in me. I'm not doing anything at anybody else. It's more if I just stay in my heart, in my love, in my peace, that is an extension.
That's
I don't have to
absolutely
work
right.
at pushing it toward
Exactly.
anybody.
In fact, if you pushed it, then that would totally negate every step you've taken for mind of peace, because it is not part of the mind of peace to push anything or try to get anyone to think anything different.
I appreciate that so much, because for a long time I've thought that I have to somehow just like love by giving something to other people, but it's not about forwarding anything. It's
Right.
more about just being in my spirit and my
That's
heart.
exactly right.
Oh, that's a great relief. Because
That really is how it is. Because you can never convince anybody of anything. You can't. They have to come to it on their own. All you can do is be a shining example of the love that you are, or the peace that you are, you see.
Yeah, I was even thinking it had become more nonverbal. It wasn't that I'm trying so much to teach,
Right.
Verbally, but I was still feeling like I had to be doing something mentally, like, extending some magically somehow a shining light. And no, that's not the deal.
And that's a common mistake. That's a common misunderstanding, because really, what are you shining light into? You see, you are
Yeah.
light. You simply are
Right.
light.
Right. Okay. I appreciate it. I love you so much.
I love you too.
I feel like I'm absorbing all of a sudden, like a sponge. It's a wonderful feeling.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. See, to extend life to others, not life, well, light, it is life, to others as though they don't have light, is the opposite of what you want to do. You simply want to be the light, you see.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This next question is from Glenn, who's not here today, but it's a good question. And Glenn asks, on Christmas night 2021, I had a very lucid dream in which I was blasted by a light from behind that was removing all of the flesh and muscle from this body I currently occupy. Underneath, I could see a green crystalline body emerging. This appeared to be a very traumatic experience, and I was falling backwards into the light with arms out when you appeared on a beam of white light and asked, "Why are you crucifying yourself, Glenn?" I jumped up, embarrassed, and tried to play it cool to convince you that I wasn't, but then I noticed I was now occupying a green crystalline body that felt stronger, and I was no longer in any perceived pain. We had a brief discussion that had a strong and familiar feeling, like I had caught up with an old friend from the past. My questions are we old friends?
And we're going to say yes, we are old friends, because we've never separated and we still remain friends, and that's why it's so familiar.
Could there be a complete physical shift into a crystal body in this lifetime?
And what we wanted to say about that is that a crystal body is the same as a non-crystal body. It's still illusion. Everything of form is simply illusion. What you want to do is release the whole idea of separation. What you want to do is accept the atonement for yourself and extend it to all in love, you see. So that it isn't about obtaining or attaining a crystal body, a different form, but you want to transcend form altogether, which means to simply forgive it and let it go.
Should I be sharing my experiences with those who are showing signs of awakening, yet still identifying strongly with issues of the bodily complex?
Not necessarily. Only if you feel inspired to do so, but don't have any expectations either, because sometimes these kinds of conversations can have quite a pushback, which are not positive or do not feel good, which might injure your ego, we'll say, but you don't have to take your ego seriously, because you want to let your ego go, you see. So remember how we were saying you have two parts to your mind, the wrong mind and the right mind. If you are sharing from your right mind, you are simply sharing in order to join in love, to join in forgiveness, to join in truth, which is that you are not separate, but that you are one in mind. You see, if you're coming from your ego mind would like to tell everyone things that will make you very different and make you even more separate, which won't feel good. So you always want to first, before you do anything, choose which mind you're going to be listening to, your right mind or your wrong mind. And because you are a mind, you always have that ability. So.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
This next question is from Daria again. And she asks, Daria asks, how do I protect myself from all low energy frequencies / spirits?
So you, like we were saying, is to not take it seriously. You may perceive what you would consider lower feelings or lower spirits, but don't take them seriously. Lighten up. They still are not real, just like you are not really real either. The you that we're talking about is the separate identity you. Does that make sense?
Yes, but just like for me, it's difficult because actually it happened to me that I had strong symptoms, vomiting. I felt very low, headache, strong stomach ache. So even if I know that it's illusion, it's very difficult because I can feel it, right?
Yes. Well, that too, even though you feel it, you still have to look at it and say, this is part of the illusion. I'm still not going to take this seriously in the sense that I'm not going to try to make it a block to love. Does that make sense?
So that means that basically if I will separate, it will vanish, it will disappear. I will be like on the better position, higher position.
It will become less and less.
Um,
And it may not go away entirely, this physical symptoms, but as you make peace with it, you won't feel it the same way, you see, and eventually it will simply disappear.
I see. So just like be acceptance and
Yes.
peace.
Yes.
Okay, and there is a way that I can protect myself from it, the better way, the best way.
Well, you can align yourself with your higher self, your Holy Spirit, with love, yourself as your true identity who represents forgiveness and represents the light. And when you truly do that, which means that you let go of your judgment, you let go of thoughts of separation, and you spend more time in the frequency of joining, then less and less you'll have experiences that will make you think that your peace is disturbed. And in fact, rather than make you think your peace is disturbed, we want you to realize you are the mind that chooses to think you're disturbed. You are never disturbed by outside forces because you are always responding or reacting to an internal decision.
I see. Okay. So it's actually my how I can do it, right? My force.
Yes,
Or
see,
I can
because
see it.
when you see a negativity or you judge something, that's your projection. You're projecting outward what you don't want to look at within yourself. But we're saying to you, when you look at that feeling within yourself that you projected out, you are then able to choose again and let it go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. Completely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
We appreciate you too.
This next question is from Kurt. And Kurt asks, are extraterrestrials and beings that exist in different dimensions just as illusory as we ego-based humans? Thank you for your unselfish service.
The answer is yes. Anything form-related is illusory, no matter what. Yes, there seem to be many dimensions, but even that too is illusion, you see. Does that make sense?
Is there a version of the Course in Miracles for extraterrestrials?
That's a good one. They have their own systems. Some of them are very similar to the Course, very similar. So we'll just say yes. They have their own version, their own teachings, which are actually the same. All wisdom is one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This next question is from Grace. And Grace asks, is it okay to drink Red Bull and caffeinated drinks often throughout the day? Or do we have to drink a certain amount of water? Has the water industry lobbied the healthcare system? Is any medical or human given advice even legitimate? But that's a whole other question. The bigger question is it possible to not feel sleepy during the day? But I can wait until next month for that one.
Well, we'll just say this, that yes, it's entirely possible for you to not feel sleepy at all. You just have to learn to change your mind, you see. And we will also say, don't even think about caffeine, water, any of that. It's all part of the illusion. We will say, of course, it's a good idea, so to speak, in the illusion, to drink water, so drink water.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love you so much. Okay. I'll just listen to that again. Thank you.
We love you too. So remember to lighten up and to laugh. Nothing here is real. The medical industry, BS. The spiritual industry, BS. The religious industry, BS. The government industry, BS. It's all BS. You have to realize this dream is BS. This illusion is a whole bunch of SHIT. So don't take it seriously.
I mean, is it kind of like, just super fast, there's a lesson, I'm under no laws but God's,
Yes.
or there's no law but God's.
There is no law but God's, and God's law is love.
Mm-hmm.
Love, it does not have judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Also, love doesn't believe in any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I heard this lady who talk about that lesson. He was like, yeah, you don't have to age because I don't have to age because I'm under no laws but God's. And I'd like to go under that if possible, but
Sure, we will say something about that. Well, you don't have to age, so to speak, but we'll tell you probably want to so you can get out of here sooner than later. We'll say to you this. The ego said, yes, stay. Elongate your life here so that you can remain you and I can exist. Rather, let it all go and laugh and say that's ridiculous. The body ages. Who cares? Sure, the mind has found many ways in which to keep that from happening as quickly, but really, what's the point? You really want to look at that. What's the point? The point is separation.
Mm-hmm.
It's make peace with what is. This place is not your home. It never was and it never will be. The ego will fight as hard as it can to try to make it so, but it will never make it so. Everything here will die. This place is a place of death. But lighten up about it. It's not real. It's a dream.
Thank you so much, Jesus.
You're welcome.
Thank you for A Course in Miracles. I love you. I love you. I love you.
We love you, and it's a good day. You're welcome. So it looks like that is the end of our time. Remember this, to all, forgive yourselves and accept the atonement. You have already been forgiven. This place is past. It no longer exists in truth. That feels very frightening to the ego, but let it go. You are free in truth. You are loved and blessed always, and all is truly well. We are with you always. Namaste.